Sweet! Today we got to play Sierra West. So this is my kind of mountain climbing. But before we get into that, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and let's dig into it. Robert, tell us more about it.
Okay, I don't know what we got to do about mountain climbing.
Because you climb up the mountain.
You tear the mountain down.
Yeah, I guess.
But you got to climb up first.
I guess. Anyway, Sierra West was made back in 2019. It plays 1 to 4 people. Board Game Geek rating is 6.9. Designer Johnny Pack, so we've played a few of his games now. Art by Jacob Fajtanowski and Michael Dulagaj. Apologies for mispronouncing those. Published by Board and Dice. MSRP is $50, but I found much cheaper versions out there. Amazon had it for $29.99, and Geek Market, somebody had it on sale for $15.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's talk about quality of pieces. All of the components are wooden.
They're shaped. They're not all wooden. The gold is plastic.
Oh, yeah. And it's a see-through yellow. I thought that was kind of weird.
I've never seen gold that's see-through.
Yeah, I know. I thought that one was a little weird, but I'm okay.
Still better than the Terraform-i-Mars gold.
Yeah, that's true. And then you have wagon meeples. You have 2 different kind of wooden meeples, the cowboy hat and the normal meeple. You also have heavy cardboard markers. You've got your own player board. I think that's a pretty good quality, as well as the trapping tiles.
The cards do have a finish. They're thin. They're very thin, but they have a finish on them. It's nice linen.
And depending on which module you play, you'd have different potential resources as well.
Yeah. So basically, this is a 4-in-1 game. There's 4 different scenarios you can play in it.
Okay. So, score the quality of components.
I think I'd go 6.5.
Yeah, I'm probably right there, 6.5 to 7 at the most. I don't think it's any higher than that. I mean, the boards are kind of, they're all right. They're kind of bowed.
They're a little bit bowed. I think I would have went a little higher if the cardboard wasn't bowed and if the card stock was a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the linen finish, but it's still pretty thin. And then just the general cardboard is just not that high of quality.
I mean, I like the shaped meeples, but they're all kind of just everything's standard,
very generic
shapes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they were silk screened, I'd give it a higher score.
Obviously, or if they were actually in the resin kind.
That'd be even better.
Like Stonemaier pieces.
So, what do you think?
I'm actually at a 6 with this. If you're looking at the same as Catan, the only thing slightly better than the Catan is the linen finish on the card, so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I mean, you don't get shaped pieces in Catan.
No, you do. You get the roads, you get the houses, you get the castles, the knights.
If the peoples, I mean, but I'm like, you don't get.
That's why I gave it slightly higher at a 6.
All right. Okay. I won't argue with you.
It's only half a point difference. What you coming after me for?
I'm not.
So moving on to theme. This is a little bit different of a Western than the last couple have been because it's more about
It's more about prospecting versus
the gold rush. The gold rush
instead of
aspect of it.
gunslinging and stuff like that.
Yeah,
although the last module, the one we haven't played, is about gunslinging. Yeah. So, I mean, if you take each individual component, yes, you're only a part of the Western, but if you put it all together, you've got a lot of the aspects of the Western in the game.
Okay. So, I think the art is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And overall feeling, it did feel like you're going out mining, you're building up your cabins, your little camp, you're going out, you're trying to find gold. Specifically with this one, I think it felt pretty good for like a gold rush. And the game mechanics do kind of apply for that feel. You're going to go explore new areas, that's the flipping over the cards, and then you're trying to mine, you have to have the light, the dynamite. So I actually think it was pretty good. I think it was a pretty solid theme.
And you get to capture these cute little groundhogs.
I know.
Yeah, I like
Except that prairie dog was awful to
the
find.
Prairie dog. It was tough. I think that is the rarest of them all.
Well, it is, because that's only on the module you're playing. So there's one that's all animal that's always specific for each module. And if you hide the module cards, then no one's going to ever get one. But they're more powerful, too, so you've got to balance that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a unique take on a game. First of all, the mechanics are very unique, which we'll get to in a little bit when we get into gameplay. But as far as the feel of this one, we've been playing through several westerns. This is definitely a different feel from the others. A lot of the westerns have a take that element by nature of it. This one didn't really have that take that element. It was more that you could impact your opponents by what choices you took or the actions that you played.
Kind of more like a standard worker placement feel versus a screw your neighbor over.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different in that sense, and it's definitely different mechanics than a lot of
sure.
ones.
So, but give it a score, guys.
Theme I like a little bit better than the quality of product, so I think I'll go a 7, maybe 7.5.
Yeah, I'm probably right. I think I'm at a 7 on this one as far as the theme goes. It's not real heavy as far as it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't just scream Western. The mechanics are kind of generic across all the different. Obviously, the base game is the same. It's just a little bit slight difference in scoring. As far as it doesn't just exude Western.
Right. Maybe that last module will really kind of ramp it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a little bit higher. I think this hits a different note of the Western feel, the Gold Rush. And I think that is I think you could feel that in this particular module, maybe because of the mining and trying to get all the gold. And I did a lot of gold transfers and stuff like that.
Definitely wore the wrong hat for this game.
I know.
I mean, the Gold Rush, they had this big flat hat that, that flipped in the front.
I know.
Completely the wrong.
So
the cosplay is wrong for this one.
Well, yeah, but there's also the traveling west in the stagecoaches.
You really should have grew your beard out, too. That is really
We need the...
Get the ZZ Top going.
Grizzled old guy.
But then I have to be able to spin my guitar right here
in the river.
I'd smack into
all right, guys. So we're gonna. I'm gonna actually probably give this 7.75. I don't think it's quite deserves
It's not that much difference.
7.763.
Well, I'm more closer to 8 than you guys are. You're like 7. So moving on to Rulebook.
So the Rulebook, this is where there was a little bit of confusion with this particular module.
And this cheat sheet, useless.
Yeah, the wording in the module portion is where things fell apart, because with this particular one where we're doing the mining, it was very confusing what you were supposed to do with the gold versus the stone.
Right. I still don't understand it completely.
We read through it several times, and I think we came upon the right interpretation, but I'm not 100% sold on it. But I think it made sense thematically, but the iconography made no sense whatsoever.
Oh my gosh!
So it was very confusing. I'm interpreting it that you've got the number of gold that was out there, and then you rolled the die, and some of that was fool's gold in essence, and therefore you got stone instead. But it was based on the die roll. But it could be that you had to pay stone, and we weren't sure exactly how that worked.
Right.
Hey, let us know if you know.
Yeah.
So please do.
Yeah, that was the only piece that was really confusing about the rulebook. Other than that, it was fine. It was not great, but it was fine. It's set up around, like, the most of the rulebook is set up around the first and simplest of the modules. So it's all written around the Apple Hill model, and or mode 1, or should I say model? It's mode 1, the Roman numeral 1. So when you're going through, it's like everything's based on that, and you have to kind of piece in the other modes into it, because it's a little confusing, but it's not bad. They're clearly color coded, so you can tell which mode they're referring to. It is a fairly lengthy book. It's 20.
But again, that's because you have 4 different modes.
32 pages in front to back. But yeah, it's because there's a lot of modes, and they do have the different iconography, but it's in the book. It's in the middle of the book, and the cheat sheet had pieces of it, but not much of it. So the cheat sheet was pretty much useless.
Right.
It was, you just had to keep the book on those pages. Because of all that, I'm probably going to give it a 6, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right, especially considering how useless this cheat sheet is. So I didn't appreciate that. We're trying to go to play because we played this before, and the cheat sheet should have got us by. I always feel like if you kind of played it once, then the cheat sheet should be able to do that.
We've not played this scenario before. We played two other scenarios.
But really, once we got through this, we should have been able to figure it out pretty quickly. I mean, it didn't really add any complexity.
No.
So it's just, you can't rely on that to teach you.
Yeah. And so, 6 is fine for me on this one.
Sounds good.
All right, so gameplay. So the gameplay is you actually start with a pyramid of cards up here.
It's a mountain.
It's a mountain of cards.
The tearing down of the mountains piece, that didn't seem like that seemed like it was later in history. We didn't tear down the mountains in the gold rush. Well, we blasted them to get but that was like getting the gold, I guess thematically we had the dynamite. We could have we brought the whole mountain down completely.
Literally.
So you have that set up to begin with. And so during your action, so you have a pile of cards.
Everybody has the same deck.
Everyone has to start out with. You take 3 of the cards, and then if you'll notice here, he'll enlarge these for you. That there is blue.
Maybe I'll enlarge them. I may not.
Wow. That there are the green spaces and the yellow spaces. So you try to configure the cards with the picture showing that you want to take the action. So you really have to decide what kind of actions do you want. Do you really want stone, or do you really want food, or do you want an opportunity for a gold piece? So you'll have to balance all of those. But not only that though, but then the top of the cards have a top of the mountain action.
There's summit.
So if you go all the way across, there are certain actions that prevent you from doing that. But if you can go all the way across, then you get the option to buy certain upgrades along the essentially
that's the homestead track.
The homestead track. There's also other special abilities that alters costs for different items or different things. So keep that in mind as well. So once you place those, then you have 2 meeples. So we call him the fancy guy because he's got a hat. Goes up on the green track, and then your normal guy, he goes on the bottom track, the brown track. Now,
and you have a third guy who climbs the mountain.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, as well, though, is that you have cabins that you can build throughout the process of the game, and you can decide to leave one of your workers down at the cabin temporarily while you go through the track to possibly give you bonus or special abilities. Also with that, during the turn, when you follow people, there's 2 action spaces. So instead of leaving at a cabin, you can opt to do the trapping, which if other people have animals on their cards, you can opt to trap that. Or there's the, piggybacking off the housekeeping or the house-steading track, is that you get a certain resource depending on what your teammate went up in.
Yeah, you don't increase in the track, you just get
your
the
opponent,
advantage.
not your teammate.
Yeah.
You don't have any teams.
Sorry.
But you get the advantage of the homestead ability. So.
So that, then there's the actual board itself. So again, you go up the track. One of the action is to take the cards at the top, and where you dismantle it, those cards are worth victory points at the end of the game.
And they build your deck out and give you different special abilities.
And they give you more stuff that you can possibly do. Now, this one also had the wagon and the mining track. So you can move up your wagon.
All of them have the wagon track. The wagon track acts as a multiplier for your homestead track. So the 2 work in tandem in all the scoring mechanisms.
This module also had the mine track. So the higher that your wagon, or the further along your wagon was, the more of the mine you had access to. So when you did the mining action, you got a lot of more resources out of it. The same thing with the tracking. The more animals that you have tracked when you do the skinning action, you get a lot more resources when you go to do that. So there is a lot of moving pieces to this. I would definitely put this on the medium scale.
It's definitely a medium level game. As far as the animal trapping and the cabins go, if you don't complete those, you get a -3 victory points penalty for each one you don't do of those. So there's a strong impetus to do those during the course of the game.
But it's really a win-win. One, you don't get the negative points, but two, you get some really nice benefits for doing it.
Yes. The earlier you do it, the better, but then you're sacrificing actions you could be taking to gain increases for your deck or for moving your wagon along on the chart, which then gives you more perks for that ability. So there's a balance to it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your favorite part of it, guys?
I think my favorite part is just the card mechanism. How you can lay the 3 cards and try to rearrange to hopefully get the best actions that you possibly can to be able to get the most resources and be able to do the cool things you want to do. Like in this particular module, getting gold to put in these little crates to be able to score quite a few more additional points beyond 3 times the amount of points you would have scored normally.
Yeah.
And so I really like that aspect is the card play. The going up the mountain to get new cards, that was okay. It was kind of meh. Yeah. But just getting them to play them on the board is the cool part.
Yeah. I got a question though. Was this supposed to be 3 points for the whole thing?
No, it's 3 points
per 6.
Well, you should be adding 6 more points.
Okay, you still didn't win.
I know.
All right.
But that's what I originally thought. But then you were like, only 3 points for the cart. And I was like, why did I even do that? So the part that I loved, I think, trying to fit this puzzle of trying to get all the resources. Yeah. But I also liked managing the people. Okay, I'm going to go so far on this track. I'm going to keep my guy down here. I'm going to go so far, and then I actually liked that people management part the best because it's like, okay, not only did I have to set this cool puzzle up top, but then I also have to manage my people. When do I send them on the track? Right. Who do I send first? Do I copy someone other? I say copy. It's not quite. Do I get the bonus of what other people did? Or do I want to get that special ability? Right.
Because that's one of the things is you're not idle on other players' turns because you have to make those calls. Do I want to use it to follow on someone else's turn, or do I want to allocate it to one of these cabins at the end? Because you can't do both. If assign one to one of the actions that follows, then you cannot reallocate them to a cabin. They can only go to the track to go across. Yeah. So, it's a neat mechanism.
I also think the special abilities that travel around is actually pretty cool. The mule, the dynamite, the light, the fact that those benefits kind of move around, I think that's actually a pretty cool mechanism that they have in here.
Now, the mule not the mule, but the dynamite and the light is unique to this module.
Right.
Right. But the mule's not, right?
Yeah, the mule's in each one. But it's still kind of cool, though. I agree. It's still kind of neat.
Because it's a way of interacting without being completely take that, hey, I need to borrow that, you're just going to have to take it next round and when you need it, right? Like, it's not... I thought that was actually an interesting mechanism that they had in this. Rennie, what were your thoughts? What was your favorite piece?
Well, I like what the board obviously is the most interesting aspect of the game, the mechanics of that. But, it is... I do like the homestead track and how it plays with the wagon going across to get your multiplier for it. I think it's cool that they have 4 different mechanisms for the game and you can mix and match. I don't think they make it feel that different. It still feels kind of the same no matter which one you play. Right. But there's a slight variance with each one. But it is kind of cool to have that ability to vary. But honestly, I wouldn't care really which one we played ever. It's just pick one and we'll play it. So far, the last one may be outstanding compared to the other 2 or 3. I don't know, but they're all pretty much feel the same. My only grievance, I guess, is there's not more ways to score. I always like to have a point salad type game, and this one, it just you've got the multiplier track for the homestead, you've got minimizing your penalties for your stuff, and then your victory points for the card collection. And that's pretty much it. The gold is worth 1 each. In this case, it was worth a little more because of this particular scenario.
So, but the thing is, that's 4 different ways to scores. How many? Most of the time, that's kind of what you get is 4 different ways to score. It just doesn't feel like it. Maybe.
It's just not a high scoring game.
Yeah, it's
not a high scoring game.
I think it is 8 points out in the respect that you do have multiple ways of scoring. It's not just one. It's just not high scoring, so maybe you don't feel like a points out game.
And it's not, it's that, and I think the fact that
it's not a step and bell game.
It's not like you have to sacrifice choices. You can pretty much max on all of them. It's not that difficult to get all of them kind of topped out, or at least get considerable points in each category.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not surprised that you like the homestead tracker, because you see this mechanism in quite a few games. Like, I don't think that part was very unique. You see that in Zolkin, you see it in a bunch of different other games, and that doesn't surprise me that that's the part you.
I said I like the mechanics of the way you're arranging, but you already spoke of that piece, so there wasn't any point in me reiterating it.
So give it a score, guys. What's your score?
I'm probably at about a 7 on this one. I think it's fun. It's. I don't think it has enough of the different unique aspects that, like, I've seen with some of the other ones we played, like Carson City. I liked a lot more. You didn't like it as much. I like it a lot.
How do you not think this is unique?
I think the mechanics of managing this is, but apart from that, I think the scoring aspects of it are not that dissimilar.
For me, it's just not very satisfying. I mean, it's fun.
It is fun.
But it's just, when we're done, am I going to talk about it? No, not really. It didn't really grab me that much and really impress me a whole lot. Now, that last module might blow us away. And then it might completely change my opinion. So I definitely want to try that before I really say, I'm only going to play if someone else brings it up. But right now, I'm not going to pick it.
Okay. What's the score, though?
I think I want it to be a 7.
I'm going to give this a little bit more, because I actually really enjoy what
7.63 or...
You know what? Screw you.
Do you want a random number generator?
I'm going to keep my score secret down. All right. So I actually really did enjoy the board, and I think it is unique, and I think it should be scored that way, because it is a lot of fun with this board. Could they possibly do a little bit more with the, no, I think for certain people this would be fine. I find this satisfying. I thought it was fun. I still lost horribly, but there it is. So, yeah.
So what's your score?
I told you, I'm not going to say now.
Come on. You have to.
I'm going to give it an 8. Because I actually really did enjoy this. I liked this way better than Carson City and some of the others.
Oh, that's clear.
Yes. So,
there's no grumbling in this game.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm down. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you guys again. Bye.
Bye.